You know, it's a bad start when I'm already just giggling to myself. You know, this is... You know, this is gonna be a wild ride. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here for another little daily dose of reality, a little bit of a reality check. I wanna share with you a follow on from a video I did. This is 5 more things that social media and influencers have brainwashed, made us think are normal, have kind of normalized. But truthfully, I believe that these things are not normal and this shit is weird, okay? It's weird. It's not normal. And some of them are fun and like little pokes at fun, like lighthearted humor. And I've got some other things to share that are a little bit sad. So we've got a bit of everything today. It's gonna be a wild ride. Strap your seatbelt in and let's get started. So I'm gonna start with a lighthearted one. And please, throughout these points, okay, we're gonna get a little bit controversial. I need you to tell me, am I the problem? I'm gonna start with number 1. And this is something that I think TikTok really brought on. And I don't know where we went so wrong. I think that social media has kind of normalized men and boys half naked thirst trap singing and dancing on the internet. And some of you are going to disagree with me. That's fine. We're all entitled to have our own opinion. But personally, I think it's weird. I think it's weird and I find it incredibly unattractive. And I don't know where we went so wrong. Like, please, someone tell me. Please tell me that I'm not the only one that thinks this is weird and it's not normal. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have some videos. I'm gonna have some videos on screen for you of like men thirst trapping and they're like naked and they're kind of giving you the eyes and they're like licking their lips and they're like doing this thing like with their fingers. They're like, oh yeah, like singing and dancing. Truthfully, is there something wrong with me? Am I supposed to just be losing my damn mind over this? Am I supposed to be looking at these images and these videos and being like, oh my God, marry me? Because I don't, okay? I find it freaking hilarious in the most saddest way. And truthfully, I don't think I'm the only one. Please tell me I'm not the only one because it just seems like we've hit it seems like society has just hit a whole nother level of narcissism and I can't find this attractive. I can't. Even as much as I wish I could try, I just can't. Every time I see it, I just start giggling to myself. Because I imagine that boy, man, standing alone in his bedroom or his house, half naked, lip syncing, and I just can't take it seriously. I think this is why there's many reasons why I've had a hard time finding men, and dating I think was always really hard for me, is because I find that the type of man that I am attracted to is almost like a dying breed of man, and it's being overtaken by singing, dancing, half-naked boys on the internet. Like that's considered the new attractive. And I don't know, tell me, like where did this take a turn? Was it way back when boy bands started? But I don't know if that's where it took a turn. I don't know, has it been a gradual thing? Was it TikTok? What was it? Tell me, please, someone help me. Following on from that, number 2, I think that social media has kind of normalized like outward public displays of affection and perfect relationships. I've kind of merged these two together, but I think the idea of like the perfect man and the perfect relationship has become more normalized on social media. I mean, it probably started way back when with Disney movies, when we all started to believe that the perfect man, the perfect prince existed. But I think social media has almost normalized this idea of the perfect relationship, the perfect man. And I'm just here to tell you that I don't think this is normal. I think it's a lie we're being sold. I don't believe there's such thing as a perfect relationship. And I think social media and the use of social media and the outward displays of affection on social media and seeing other people's highlight reels has made us believe that the perfect relationship and the perfect man exists. This, I believe, is a very, very unpopular opinion because I'm pretty sure some of you are going to tell me that you do this and you take part in this. Look, I'm ruffling some feathers and I'm rocking some boats, but I've just never been one to like outwardly profess my love to somebody on the internet in the form of like a dedicated video or photo or post. A very specific thing I'm trying to explain, but it's like, you know, when you see those really like dedicated captions, it started on Facebook, I think, probably actually started way back on the MySpace days, but you know, when people would like write out an entire paragraph about the person they love, declaring their love and expressing how amazing this person was, but they write it in a way that's like they're not talking about them, like they're talking to them. It's like they've put a whole caption together, a whole post dedicated to the person, but instead of just saying it to the person in a private way, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's broadcasted. It's broadcasted for the world to see. I've never been the person that ever wants to do that in any of my relationships. I've never been the type of person that professes my love on a public platform, speaking to that person on like a one-on-one basis. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm not explaining it properly. I hope you can understand what I'm saying, but I wish I lived in a time before social media. I was very young before it took place. Those private moments, like things like that, things that I express to the people I love, things that I express to my friends and the people that I love, I've just always been someone who does it face to face, or even like maybe I'll do it through a text message, but I do it in a private way. When I say things like that, I mean it, and I want that person and only that person to experience it. Like, I want it to be an intimate moment between us. Like, I don't need thousands of other people to see it or hear it or know it. I want it to be between two people. And I've never really bought into that type of idea. And I know that's incredibly unpopular, because on my feed on a daily basis, oh God, even on Facebook, I see on a daily basis, I see people professing their love to one person, or like sharing a really long dedicated post about an anniversary. I know I should think it's sweet, and a part of me does. Back in the day, like, those are just intimate moments that you shared with that particular person, and you didn't need to tell your Facebook friends. Like, I mean, before social media, do you think it was a thing? Like, did people get together in their friendship groups and say this whole dedicated spiel about the love of their life and how it's their anniversary and how much this person means to them? And, oh, Sally, you mean so much to me. I love you so much. You're my everything. You're my dream woman, my blah, 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 with like all your other friends there as well. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a but I'm just kind of like, how did we get here? Like, how? I don't know. And I think it's further perpetuated the narrative that there is such things as perfect relationships, you know? Like, I see people, and I know people who post about their relationship, post about their love of their life on like a weekly basis. So many dedicated posts. But I do find it really interesting, and I know, again, I'm in the minority. I've read articles about this, because there are a majority of people in the world who do love to express their love in the form of captions and posts and like dedicated things. And I don't know, if I ever had a boyfriend who did things like that, I'd be like, why? If I had a boyfriend who, like, I don't know, I woke up one day and there was like he did a whole caption for me, and he you know, like put a photo up and like wrote this giant paragraph about how much he loved me and was like talking to me in his paragraph, I think I'd be a little bit like irked out, and I just would kind of be like, why didn't we just share this moment together? Why did you need to broadcast it onto social media? I know that's a very, very unpopular opinion. Trust me, I'm well aware, but I just think it's something that since social media begun, it's now been normalized. Okay, number 3, if you've ever been in a space of comparison, or if you've ever been caught up in comparison, and especially if you're, you know, you scroll Instagram or you scroll your social media throughout the weekend or leading up to the weekend, this point I think really further proves my example of the highlight reel, and the social media is really the highlight reel. And I think sometimes it can trick us into believing that we are the only ones who don't have a thriving, active, super exciting social life and like really jam-packed, fun-filled weekends. Is it just because I'm almost 30? Like, is it because I'm almost 30? But guys, I am tired. I'm exhausted. Fun-filled, like active, super busy weekends. That sounds like my biggest nightmare. That sounds exhausting. I mean, maybe it's definitely something I'd probably engage in more in summer. I'm definitely more like outgoing and social in summer. I'm heading into winter right now, so I kind of like, you know, retreat and hibernate. I'm like a big woolly bear. I just sit in my house and eat. But I've never been one to have like jam-packed weekends. It like gives me anxiety. I'm a very introverted person. I think social media really highlights this idea of like jam-packed, fun-filled weekend. I see people on Instagram and social media who every night after work, they're hitting the town, they're going out, and then weekend rolls around, Friday night after work drinks, hitting up the bars, Saturday morning rolls around, they're out to brunch, and then they've got a lunch, and then they're out to dinner, and then they're out to another bar and a club, and then Sunday rolls around, and then they're out to brunch again, and then they're going for a walk, or maybe they're going to something like some event or something. And then, you know, they're having a Sunday session at a bar, like having more drinks. And I'm just like, how? Just watching it exhausts me. And please let me know. And again, I think this is probably a personality thing. It almost makes looking at social media, and it almost like feeds into the comparison of like, oh my God, am I the only one who doesn't have that much of an active, thriving weekend after work social life? I think when we look at social media too much and we look at people's Instagram stories, it can kind of feed into this comparison of, oh my God, like I'm super introverted, but am I supposed to be going out every day after work? Am I supposed to be going to the bar every weekend? Am I supposed to be having fun-filled, jam-packed weekends? And again, I don't know if it's just like the older I'm getting and I've got more adult responsibilities, but just off the top of my head this weekend, I can already think of like 3 to 4 jobs that I need to do around my house, okay? My garden is like, my weeds are growing weeds. Flynn is getting stanky, okay? He stinks, he needs a bath. I wanna get to the gym at least once this weekend. I mean, ideally both days. I'm trying to build some muscle. I've got some goals that I'm trying to achieve. Other than that, like grocery shopping. Sundays is like my get ready for the week. You know, I like to do my meal prep. I like to do my grocery shopping. Back in the day, I sound so old, but I never really got to experience adulthood without social media. And I think back in the day, like before social media, you didn't really know, you didn't really compare yourself so much to other people. You know, maybe you spent Saturday night, Friday night alone, but you didn't see other people going out and living their best lives. You know, you didn't see it as much. It wasn't as easily accessible. I mean, I never lived through it, but geez, it must have been simpler times. It must have been so much simpler and probably better. Anyway, we're getting a bit deep. Let's move on to the next one. Number 4, this one's like a weirdly specific one that maybe if you're not in the influencer space or you're not in the social media realm, you may not actually be aware of. And I think if this is something that I've seen in my city, it's definitely happening in bigger cities and probably all over the world. So I know of a specific studio in my city, and I've actually been there once before. I spent like a few hours there and it just wasn't my thing, but there are entire studios dedicated to Instagram, and kind of like people call them content studios, and you can go there, you can spend, I think you can pay for like half a day, or you can pay for a full day, and you have that whole space to yourself and you can shoot content. And I know of people in my city who do content creating and kind of like influencing as a hobby, or like maybe they do it as like a side business. And again, I'm not trying to knock influencing, and I'm not trying to like, I don't want it to make it sound like I'm hating on influencers and like Instagram in that sense, because, you know, I can understand why maybe you prefer, or people may prefer, to go to a space and pay money to have an event space and like film all their content there, like batch film their content. Maybe they have a full house at home, or maybe they don't like their surroundings at home. Maybe they don't like their apartment or their house. Maybe they don't have the best lighting, or maybe they've got like a full household, or maybe it's something as simple as safety reasons. Maybe they don't want to film in their house. Like, I think there's a variety of reasons why people use these studios, and I'm not knocking them, and I'm not knocking the influencers who use them, but it definitely contributes to this narrative. It's definitely normalized like perfection and just like this very specific aesthetic. You know, I think there's a very specific aesthetic that's very popular and it does really well on social media. It's like a very clean, crisp aesthetic. And I think when you scroll social media, or when you've seen people posting, you know, it looks like everybody's just got like a perfect house and like perfect white walls and like the best lighting and the best decor, and like every inch of their house is just like camera ready perfection. I think that's another thing that social media has kind of normalized. You know, much like in my last video, we talked about the fake private jet sets where people go and can take photos of themselves on a private jet. I think that content studios are probably a more normal, like not normal, abnormal, but they're probably more of like a stock standards thing within the influencer world and the Instagram world. And if you were none the wiser, you may find yourself, especially if you're, you know, having a rough time, or maybe you're in the comparison trap, or maybe you're thinking, oh my God, like I'm in my 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever age you are, you find yourself looking at these beautiful houses, these beautiful backdrops of people's, you know, videos or reels, and you're thinking, oh my God, where did I go so wrong in my life that I don't have a beautiful aesthetic home? You know, why is my home not as bright, not as white, not as clean, not as, you know, beautifully aesthetically pleasing? And I think one thing we have to remember is these Instagram sets, these studios are very heavily used, and they're becoming more kind of like the norm. Like I said, I know a handful of people who use them. And if you are none the wiser, you may find yourself in a trap of, scrolling and thinking, oh my God, every influencer I follow, every social media person I follow has these beautiful homes. I just think that we need to remember that Instagram is not reality. And, we all know that editing is a thing, and people can edit out a pimple or edit their body to look a certain way. People can pose a certain way. And I think, we know all about that. We know that that is a warped reality. But I think another level that we may not even be aware of, or we may forget, is that where they are, like it may be a studio. So this one, number 5, I didn't intend to end on kind of a sad note, but oh well, this is where we are. This one I think is really, really been normalized. And I think well before TikTok, it was kind of like this social media norm, but I think TikTok's made it worse. And it's this idea of oversharing. And it kind of is tied in, like this could be 2 points, but it's tied into what I think is the lonely epidemic. Like we are living in the loneliest time of our lives. And it's funny because we're all supposed to be so connected and so connected through social media, so like think about the word social media. We are supposed to be so connected, but I think we are literally the loneliest people of any of our generations. Like right now we are in the loneliest time we've ever been in, I personally think. And we're really lacking those deep connections. And it's the saddest thing when I see, and again, I don't know, maybe it's also part of the problem because these videos get like millions of views, and I'll see if I can have some on screen. But it's basically this idea where, I've seen them on TikTok, they get millions of views, people sharing, oversharing in some senses. Examples that I've seen within the last week are, I saw a woman who was having a bit of a meltdown. She was crying because her husband-to-be, her fiance, was at his bachelor party and she hadn't heard from him all day. He wasn't replying, and she was wondering if he was cheating. She was wondering if, he was doing something that he shouldn't. Thousands of comments, people were writing in saying, oh, leave him. What are you doing with someone like that? Red flag. You shouldn't even be getting married. Other people were saying things like, oh my God, girl, like I'm in Vegas for the weekend. What does he look like? DM me, send me a photo. I'll try and find him. I'll find where he is or what he's doing. And it just kind of breaks my heart because I'm the first to admit that I don't have a really large friendship circle. I don't have a lot of friends, and I'm very much like a quality over quantity type of person. But God, like, imagine feeling like you don't have anyone in your life. This is something that I think a lot of people experience. I've been there before in my life, and it's the saddest thing where you feel like you don't have anyone to turn to. Personally, I've never turned to the internet with pressing things like that, like real-time type of situations. But, we see the oversharing on social media all the time. We see people bringing their quarrels or their quandaries or their problems in real time to the internet because maybe they don't have anyone in their real life that they can actually talk to. Maybe that particular woman felt like she didn't have any friends in her real life that she could actually talk to. And it's kind of this, oversharing. Oversharing has become so normalized and so almost celebrated. It's these videos become viral, they become viral sensations, and they get so many views. And I think it's such a fine line, and it's such a delicate balance, and it's always something that I am incredibly aware of, because as someone who does put their life on the internet to some extent, I am very, very conscious of, I want to provide content to you that is valuable and that is vulnerable enough to be able to assist you in anything that you may be going through. Like, I want my content to serve as something that is helpful. I want to be of service in that way, but I'm always conscious of, and there's things that I'm going through in my life right now. There's things that I've been through that I have not shared on the internet and probably will never share on the internet. And I'm always aware of that balance of, hey, like, oversharing versus actual service and being of service. And I think it's so sad because I do think that the need to overshare, especially on TikTok, is really tied to this loneliness epidemic of, I see these videos of people, who have maybe lost a loved one, and they're right in it. They're right in the grief, or, their partner, they think their partner's cheating on them, or, there's issues going on within their marriage, and they're in real time broadcasting it for social media. And it's just sad. And it's sad to me. And these videos get so many views and they get so many interactions, but you know, it's not the same as like a true deep connection of actually being able to go to a friend and have that same level of comfort. And I just think it's really, really sad. And unfortunately, social media has normalized this, you know, social media, yet we are literally the loneliest we've ever been. So sorry to leave it on a sad note, but those are 5 more things that I think social media has unfortunately normalized within our society. And again, I hope this video serves as a nice little reality check for you. Please share with me your thoughts on this video in the comments down below. I'm gonna have my first video linked here for you if you haven't seen it. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.